May I have your attention, please? Welcome, strangers, to Talkumentary, a show where we watch documentaries and then get together and talk about them. Plastics in the ocean, they're harming marine life.
In our food and in our water, they can cause us strife.
They contain harmful chemicals that can affect our health.
We need to find solutions and protect ourselves.
But be careful, my friends, for there's a story to be told
about the dangers of plastics and how they take their toll.
We need to be informed and take action to defend.
That's why we have Talkumentary, our podcast to the end.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah.
What's up?
See, the women, they went straight through it. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, see, they know what they're doing.
Trained singers and professionals.
You bet.
Katie kind of is. I'm not, but you know.
But I believe you.
You gave me a good thing to roll off of. You know, I was just feeling it in the moment.
We have that key.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
pulled it out of thin air. Pulled it straight out of my ass.
That was fun.
So anyway.
James,
What's that?
do not.
No more crumbs.
Food.
Welcome to the 22nd episode of Talkumentary. My name is Jeff. I'm joined by a couple real Planeteers today for this environmentally friendly episode. We have with us Captain Planet himself, King James.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up? The green mullet's looking mighty fine this evening.
Heck yeah, it is.
The personification of Earth herself, Lady Katy.
Mother Gaia loves you.
And the embodiment of environmental respect and sustainability. Good golly, Miss Molly.
I wish.
What's up, my friends? It's so good to see you all this evening.
Did you come up with a fun
Yes.
name for yourself? You should have.
No, I didn't. But you know what? That's all right.
Justice Jeff.
Oh.
The justice.
Yep.
The justice.
So let's get into what we talked about tonight. Tonight, we grabbed our refillable water bottles, our reusable grocery bags, and we're skipping the lids to our coffee cups as we dig our way through a pile of plastic garbage in this 57-minute documentary from 2013 titled Plastic Paradise, The Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
I was surprised it was so short. I was like,
I loved it.
57. It was great.
Yeah.
I liked the shortness.
I liked that it went.
I kinda like
it got
it, too.
over
Yeah.
faster. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Yep. So in this documentary, filmmakers travel to one of the most remote places on Earth, Midway Atoll, to uncover the truth behind the mystery of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and shine some light on what our society's vast consumption of disposable plastics is doing to our oceans and our health. King James, this was our environmental one for you, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this.
I did.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Good.
I always like nature. And to keep people safe, good nature brings good health for the whole earth.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
To destroy it causes all bad effects over everything.
Yeah.
And plus, I want my grandkids to live in drink clean water, or smell clean air, be able to breathe. You know, we pay for water now. I don't want them to be paying for bottles of air.
Yep.
You know,
Right.
so
So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
yes.
Other Planeteers, I don't get the same impression from you guys about this documentary. Talk to me.
I love being environmentally friendly. I love the concept. I did not care for this actual documentary, but I loved what they stood for.
Fair enough.
It's a
Katie, what
great
about you?
concept.
Disgusting.
Ew.
I strongly hated this documentary, not because of the concept. It's a very
Right.
important concept, but watching animals in pain and dying was so hard to watch. I don't think I watched 90% of it.
Yeah.
I just watched it behind like my hand
Yeah.
because it was just too heart-wrenching. I can watch people
Yep.
sick, I can watch anything else, car accidents, whatever, but watching
seeing-
animals in pain, just I cried through the whole thing and I hated it.
Yeah. Seeing the seals in the nets and the, turtles or the,
Cutting the open stomach of that bird.
and
Yeah,
finding
that
the-
was
Especially-
I found that a little slightly unnecessary. I
Right.
got it. I understood it, but
It
Yep.
was shocking. It had the shock
it
factor.
wasn't that bad
They
to me because
definitely had a
I've
shock factor.
been cutting and gutting animals since I was like 7 years old. So to see
Holy
that,
mother.
You're such a man.
You're such
you know,
a
hey,
man.
Holy
that's
mother
the
Gaia, James.
Alabama parents that you get, you know,
Yeah.
honey and all
So,
that stuff.
so usually I go through and I name off all the awards each documentary has won, and but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really think anyone cares about that. So I might stop doing that and kind of sample that one out. So I just want people to know that they did win some things. It did get some acclaim, I guess. And
Look it up if you think it's cool.
exactly. Thank you. But Plastic Paradise does not register on Rotten Tomatoes. So as it has only been given one review. Has an audience score of 68 with over 50 ratings. So it's right in the middle, which sounds like that's kind of where we landed in our group as well.
Was the one review at least good?
I don't know. I didn't look at it.
Oh, okay, for sure. I was just curious.
Directed, produced, and starring Angela Sun. Produced by Tanya Leal Soto. We streamed this on Tubi. All of that information and more will be in the show notes. Let's get into it. Spoiler alert. If you want to go watch it before you listen, please do that. Otherwise, welcome to the show.
Right.
James.
I think everybody's concerned about some particular devastating acts created by us humans to an environment. So check this out. You know.
Yep. So while you're talking about that, you were the dealer for this one. You chose this for us. Talk about why you chose this one. I know you kind of went into that, but why this one in particular? Well,
I was just looking at videos and I thought, what would I like? What type of things that you talk about? We talked about food and sugar and racism and gay activist stuff. We talked about a lot of things. So now let's talk about the environment, you know, where we live, what we breathe, what we eat. You know, this affects all those things are important, but to destroy the environment affects each one of those things itself, you know.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So
How'd you find this doc?
I was skimming through documentaries by Tubi. Not Tubi, but this documentary's like on Prime Video.
Yeah.
And it was free at the time, but they charge it now. You know, just in case, let everybody know, Prime Video is not all cracked up. They charge for a lot. So anyway.
Yeah, Tubi had it for free with ads.
Tubi had it for free with ads. I don't mind some commercials. I've been watching them all my life.
No, exactly.
You know, so hey.
Yep.
But I really like this stuff.
So had you seen this before bringing it to our show?
Yes. I've seen it before.
Like a long time ago? This came out in 2013, I think.
Yeah, I've seen it maybe about 4 months ago, maybe.
Okay, so fairly recently.
Yeah.
How about, it doesn't sound like Katy and Molly, you guys had seen this before.
No, I hadn't.
Was it what you expected?
Yeah. Yes. It was grosser than I expected.
Okay.
But yes, they didn't talk about certain things that I was expecting them to, like microplastics and things like that as much. Like they touched on it, but didn't really deep dive into it. And maybe that's just because of the length of it. Like if they did it for an extra 20 minutes, maybe we could have gotten more about that. But I mean, yeah.
I think microplastics are something that they dived into years later. I don't think it was.
I was going to ask.
That's a good
That's
point.
a documentary that I watched that came out in like 2019 about microplastics. There was a huge explosion in like southeast Texas where they were making plastic, and then the microplastics were ending up in the food. And so that's something they did later.
So
but
maybe the research wasn't there yet.
I don't think it was.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Sorry, Angela, my bad, girl.
No, I mean, they definitely touched on it. But again, that shows that in some of these documentaries, you do have to take into account when they were made because of where was science, where was research, where was what was happening in society in order to kind of get context for for that. But, you know, for me, it was almost exactly what I expected, with some surprising statistics that I didn't really know. But I was kind of, you know, unsurprised by the surprises because I don't consider myself to be like super knowledgeable about the environment and things like that. You know, I know the importance of it. And I agree with James that, you know, what affects the earth affects every single person on it. You know, you know, nothing kills the planet quicker than the parasite I call humanity, you know? But so unless we take care of that, we don't have long to be here in the grand scheme of things. We're going to get into some of our favorite and least favorite details about Plastic Paradise, but here is a quick synopsis for the documentary. Thousands of miles away from civilization, Midway Atoll is one of the most remote places on Earth, and yet it became ground zero for the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Siphoning plastics from 3 distant continents in this independent documentary film, filmmaker Angela Sun travels on a personal journey of discovery to uncover this mysterious phenomenon. Along the way, she meets scientists, researchers, influencers, and volunteers who shed light on the effects of our rabid plastic consumption and learns the problem is more insidious than we could have ever imagined. Plastic is pretty fucking terrible for our environment, friends. If I have one, walk away moment for this, like, this is another one of those documentaries similar to like Fed Up, where, by the time we watched it, it was already a little dated, but I immediately start looking around me and I go, holy hell, plastic is everywhere. And in order to, and to just get right into our standout moments, probably the most standout thing to me about this documentary was when they said that every molecule of plastic that has ever been manufactured in the planet, in our lifetimes, not just our lifetime, in humanity, still exists on this planet as it did when it was manufactured.
Can you imagine that?
That's insanity.
1907.
Yeah.
That's when the guy, what's his name? Let's see. What's his name? Is a Belgian chemist made this. Leo Backlund. He made plastics to operate together and bind the molecules and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
it's genius.
Right. Smart, super smart. And the craziest thing about plastic bags were created to help the environment of the planet because they didn't want to use like paper bags, cut down trees and forests and stuff like that. So,
but then when you start looking at it, you go, but at least that's biodegradable.
Right.
Right.
And less evil.
Especially when they said that most plastic isn't actually recycled.
Yeah.
Number one and number two is what gets recycled. But even that, most of it just ends up in a landfill, and the landfill ends up in the ocean. And the fact that they said that, like, what I thought was probably what most people thought, that the Texas 2 times whatever the size was above the water, when in fact it's actually under the water.
Yeah,
I thought it was literally a piece of thing you could walk on, but of course it's not. It's just giant chunks floating just under the surface, and that's what's catching the coral and killing the animals, and that was so devastating.
Yep, I agree. James, what stood out to you, man? You've got your little notebook there.
Yeah, I got a little notebook.
You're ready.
It's a very nice notebook.
It is a nice notebook.
Thank you, guys.
Yes,
hey.
I like it.
The thing that stood out was a lot of things, really, a lot of things. But the main thing is the like Rush Limbaugh. Okay. Sorry about that.
Did you just call him Rush Limbaugh?
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh. That's his little thing. He used to go like this.
Limbaugh.
What are the guys' name? Limbaugh. Whatever. He's a numbskull, so we're gonna let that one go. But it's been years.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So anyway, is the the chemical BPA. That was a standout because I was thinking about like the conditions of my health. Diabetes was one of the things that can start. Brain cancer, cancer itself, birth defects. Actually can sterilize women.
Yeah.
And we must have to think as this stuff grows continually. What the net itself was 640 tons of net out there in the ocean that's floating around.
Right.
All that plastic, all that chemical leaking out. No wonder a lot more people are getting sick. A lot more people are catching diseases that they wouldn't normally catch because we're doing it to ourselves.
Right.
Or early onset puberty for girls.
Yeah. So I was actually gonna.
Guys, you're taking my standout moment.
No. You got it. Don't worry. But the BPA you were talking about, the bisphenol A. They describe it as an endocrine disruptor, which makes human hormones go wild, basically, and other bodily functions go crazy. The plastics are leaching these things into humans. This attributes to early puberty of females and premature breast budding, along with a ton of other bad health effects. It's a persistent organic pollutant. So waste that gets absorbed by plastics and then makes its way into fish and other life, and then ultimately makes its way back to humans. And even the paper that our receipts come in
That was astonishing.
I couldn't believe I stopped taking receipts.
I know.
Like, no, I don't want
I
that
wear
shit.
gloves all the time now.
Right. I'm going to be one of those people. Did you guys have anything? It sounded like you
go
wanted
ahead, Molly.
to add
Well, it
to
was
that a little bit.
pretty much just that, actually. I was just like shocked by the fact that they were doing tests actively to see if receipt paper was going, because like it's only been since COVID that I've stopped taking receipts, truthfully.
Right.
Like the tap on cards is really new, like that kind of thing, where it's like contactless for like human contact, but the fact now that it's trying to be contactless for the plastics that are on receipts, like of us just taking, it's paper, like it, you wouldn't think about that.
Right.
And so I really liked that the producer like volunteered to like be the test subject in that. I thought that was really, really cool. And then when they were talking about like early development, early puberty and everything, and then they just panned to a little girl drinking out of a sippy cup, I was like, wow, what a way to make a visual statement,
A visual impact
by
for sure.
talking about like early puberty and talking about BPAs in your children and whatever, and she's drinking out of a plastic sippy cup.
Right.
Like
Right.
that was
I just wanted to add that before COVID, before I saw this documentary, I've been seeing for years that there were plastics that said BPA free, and I was a person long before I started following documentaries like this that was like, oh, people are afraid of everything. People are afraid of things that don't matter, because you can always find one small thing that could be catastrophic to you, and they blow it out of proportion. And I chalked it up to the anti-vaxxers. They're looking for another thing to be afraid of. And so watching this and seeing the BPA-free water bottles are the ones that you want to buy, I was like, oh, shoot. I have a lot of apologies to people.
Well, I appreciate you being open-minded enough to think that way.
Oh, and the
but
recycling symbol being on plastics, and it doesn't actually mean that it's recyclable.
that was exactly where I was going, because it's like you just can't, like,
right.
what the hell can you trust?
Yeah, and there was, I think there was something, I don't remember when it was, like within the past couple of years, about like Sprite coming out and changing their plastic from green to clear in an effort to be more environmentally conscious. And immediately I was like, if it's it's just been more environmentally conscious, because the green isn't going to show up in pictures of landfills, so you're less responsible for the actions. If they're clear, you can't tell if it's a Dr. Pepper bottle or a Sprite bottle, because you can see the green in pictures of landfills very obviously.
Oh my God. And then when they were talking about these companies that were lobbying against the plastic bags, and I had thought like, oh, they just don't want us to pay for them or something. Like, what is it that they're fighting against? And I get it now. I know California is out of them. You got to pay if you use them. But they have so much money that they're going to lobby against these states to get rid of these plastic bags. And all of it is just because it's their money. And I wasn't that cynical.
Yeah, but here we go
years
again.
ago, I just thought they're lobbying against it because they're Republicans, and that's just something they do. They just want plastic bags for business or whatever, or they really wanted to protect individual liberty of getting your plastic bag without getting charged. I believe that, sure, not anymore.
Right. Yep.
I guess I was like, here we go again. Big companies. That's how they did with the sugar industry.
Cigarettes,
all this.
Big tobacco, big sugar. I mean,
hate it here.
Yeah, right. Just like he said, one of the guys in the at the meeting at the CPI, I think it was SPI.
Yeah.
He said that they're making the money.
Yeah.
And really, you got to give us some other choice for us to stop it, because we're making billions.
Yeah.
Right.
Billions. I mean,
Right. And when you've got these companies that are making this much money and they're not being held accountable or responsible for any plan to take care of these things, and like what you just said, they're not giving any kind of incentives to do that.
Right.
Like, why would I spend more of my money to do that if I'm not going to be held accountable for it anyway?
Right.
Which is bullshit. But also a big thing that they talked about was the fact that the propaganda around even the environmental protection stuff being, what you talked about, how, you put the green leaf on a bottle, and like, well, okay, but you're using like 2% recycled plastic, which means or even if it's 20%, there's still 70% virgin plastic having to be manufactured for that one bottle. And the stuff that you got from the recycling, there's still 98% of that still goes into the landfill
Right.
because only a portion of that is recyclable anyway.
Do you remember plastic bottles used to have a larger cap, water bottles, and then they made the caps smaller and they called it like 30% more environmentally friendly.
Oh,
and
my
it
God.
came out on, I want to say the Daily Show, that all they did was make the cap smaller. So when you pull it off the water bottle, it's half
Less
an inch
spreads.
smaller.
You know, I did always wonder why the tops of water bottles were so tiny.
Oh,
That's
it's
what they
eco-friendly.
did.
It's
They started doing it like
eco-friendly.
10 years ago. And I got so irritated because as
It
soon as you
saves
turn it
them
off,
money
I would
for they can
lose
make
it.
more
Oh
money.
yeah, you lose it or
Pull
you
that
twist
towards
it too far and then it won't go back on.
And it saves them more money on top of all that.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about when she was talking to all those men in suits and she was like showing them pictures and he was like, well, how do I know you didn't Photoshop that? Or like he
Right.
was like, I don't know where this picture is. I don't believe it. And
Okay.
she's like, I took it with
Yep.
my phone.
Yep. So I have
deny.
Nice flip phone.
yeah, which was awesome.
Yep.
So what I thought was really funny about that, I thought it was hilarious when she went and talked to them on all their blurry faces and everything.
Yes.
And the big wigs, it was at the SPI plastics convention.
Yep.
First of all, of course they're going to sit down with her because I don't think it's
She's a pretty girl.
she's a pretty girl.
Yep.
Who came in there wearing a short business skirt, and these guys are in there going,
Old white
"Oh,
guys,
yeah,
yeah.
like I'll sit down and talk." But then as
Right.
soon as she starts, calling them on things, my favorite quote, there was two of my favorite quotes. The one was, "This could be a guy in his underwear in his
Yes.
basement writing this," and she said, "No, this was taken by me when I was at Midway," and he's like, "Oh," and then when she shows him the inside of the bird, he says, "Well, that's a pretty dumb bird. He shouldn't be eating the plastic." Like, really, dude? Like, we're like, you know what? The birds are eating the plastic. They're dumb for that.
Right.
But that's the same thing that they do in their marketing for, which is what I was getting to. Their marketing for the environmental protection stuff is to put it on the consumer, put it on the
Right,
bird,
right.
Make it the bird's fault.
It's
make
your job
Make
to
it
be
the buyer's
green.
fault.
Right.
No, why does the people making this have no responsibility for it? That's fucked up.
Also, birds are inherently dumb to our standards.
They're
Of course they're going to eat the fucking
The
plastic.
birds, the fish, and all that, they see the
Every-
floating
it's
sparkly thing.
duh.
It's the same reason they bite into your fishing lure or whatever.
Right.
Right.
They're gonna bite it because they don't have the ability to tell the difference.
Right.
Right.
And not only that, I mean, skip all the plastic. Just think about the chemicals from the plastic that's in the fish that they
Right.
eat.
Yep.
Then we eat.
Yep.
And then we got it. Now, hey.
Yep.
Yeah, when they were
What'd you say?
showing shots of sushi, I was like, ooh,
I know.
that was good imagery because I was like, ooh, ooh.
All right, James, what else you got, man?
Well, so there's a lot of things.
Like,
but
where do I start?
I don't know. Yeah, that's exactly where do I start? I mean, want to talk about the effects of plastic. I mean, but first of all, what is plastic made of?
Mm-hmm.
And it's crude oil, salts, natural gas, and coal. All natural minerals put together makes this.
Thank you.
You're so smart.
James did his research.
I read a little bit. It surprised me. But so what they do is they heat these up, and the gases from each one of those form like a molecule, and they're able to tie the strings of the polymer together and form this gas. I mean this
Plastic.
They call it polymerization or condensation.
Polycondensation, you said?
Condensation, yeah, thank you. Those are the two words they use. But altogether, 14% of the pollution all over the earth is created by these plastic industrial manufacturing
Wow.
people for the whole world.
Well, and it's also the people who make that are the same companies that are putting a lot more of the pollution in the world.
No,
too.
literally.
The oil companies
Yeah.
are
Exactly.
the same companies.
Smokestacks coming out the top, plastics
Right.
coming out the
And
bottom.
I'm glad you said that
Double
because
whammy.
that's another thing. By them making the process of making these plastics and stuff like that, it goes up in the air, and they call that they call it pellets, tinny pellets. So they're not pellets, but pellet. Work too much. Pellets, but it's also called a term called crackers, pellets, And what it is the chemicals go up in the air and then they go back down on Earth. They sink down in the ground and go into our water cycle, and the fish drink it, and then we receive it again. This affects the environmental, the environments, the plants, the ecosystems, you know, as you can say, like they ripped up the nets, ripping up the coral.
Right.
You know, there's
So
tens
it's
of
hitting the
thousands
air,
of
it's hitting the ground, it's hitting the water,
Right.
and it's just plastic on top of everything else.
Right. It's like a fine dust of plastic that
Right.
just covers
reaching
everything.
everywhere.
Just a
Right.
gentle sprinkling all over the earth, the
Yeah, it's
entirety
like
of it.
seasoning.
Seasoning, yeah.
It's like salt.
The
It's
earth
crazy,
is
though.
an everything bagel, and that is
Yeah.
the season.
Oh.
Oh, Katie liked my analogy.
That was a good one. I was just gonna say, like, up until a couple of years ago, I always thought it was our responsibility as consumers, and we were the cause of all of this. Like when I was really little in the early 90s,
because recycling
because
was
I'm
preached
old,
like it was going to fix
right?
everything.
Like we had a compost. My mom was super into it.
That's cute.
We reduced, reused, recycle was invented when we were kids, and that was our responsibility. And we've always been big on recycling and all that stuff. And then a couple of years ago, someone pointed out to me, you know, the people who are causing this massive amount of pollution are the ones that are responsible for it. You can recycle all you want. It's not going to make a dent. One person's not going to make a dent. 20 people, 1,000 people aren't going to make a dent. When those factories are polluting by the
And they
tons.
Yeah, and they even used the word, which I like, that until you turn the faucet off, you're not you can keep cleaning up the water forever.
That's a great analogy.
But until you actually turn the faucet off, you're not solving the problem.
That's up there with the everything bagel.
They-
It's really great.
They made a good point about that. They made a point that when they said, if we stop, the ocean will start cleaning itself.
I love
Push the
that.
plastic right back on Earth, and we just need to stop.
Mother Gaia.
You know,
Yeah.
Mother
Gaia
Gaia
will take
says, please stop.
please turn the faucet off. God damn it.
Please.
So one of the things that that I noticed, you know, when she was, which was pretty crazy, when she went to one of the most beautiful islands I've ever seen,
Yes.
with all the albatross, which
I
was
would
cool.
love that.
She was asking, and you know, and the film was asking, you know, where does all this plastic come from, and how does it get into the ocean? You know, they saw the computer monitor sitting there, like, how the hell did that get in there? Well, I couldn't help but thinking, because of my life experience, that the amount of stuff that I've seen thrown off of a Navy vessel,
Really?
oh my gosh, Katie,
It's the
I'm
world's
probably gonna
largest
get-
trash can.
Are you serious? You can't dump in the ocean. That's
Jeff
illegal.
didn't do it personally.
that's literally what you have to do with a lot of stuff.
I believe with like human waste, but like what?
So, not to get too far into it, but there's 3 different ways you sort your trash if you're doing it perfectly on a Navy vessel: into sinkables, into pulpables, and into plastics.
Wow.
Plastics go into a machine that melts it down into like a puck, like a big puck, and then you're supposed to put them on pallets, save them until you pull into port, and then take them to a recycling plant.
Great.
Love
it.
That's if things get
That's the
recycled
ideal. Yeah.
correctly. So that's probably as good as you can get,
That's
right?
great.
But
Sinkables is crazy.
sinkables is metals. It's things that won't break down if you put them into a pulper. A pulper is a big machine. It's like a big blender that mixes salt water into a big blade and chops it up. So papers, food, things like that get chopped up, and then they get spit out into the ocean.
Like a mechanical compost.
Basically.
That's great. But
Which,
sinkables are metal?
So if you were able, a lot of things. You put it into a burlap sack and you tie it up and you drop it down a chute.
Oh my God, I would think that was a dead body.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm telling you,
Down
thousands
to
of
the bottom of the ocean,
tons.
have burlap sacks with just shit in them.
So much.
Oh my God.
So much. And this is coming.
This is shocking
This
information.
is coming off a guy who served on a ship that had 3,000 to 5,000 people on it when we were
Right.
underway, day and night,
all the
day
time.
and night, day and night. Yep. So anyway, when I'm seeing stuff like that, I go, well, I know where that comes from.
Right.
That comes from the burlap sack
Now
that
I
didn't
know.
get tied properly. That's people, someone who
Whoa.
decides to forego
but
going
the
to
burlap
the
sack's gonna like break down in the ocean
Eventually.
anyway.
eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
It's not their problem though then.
right. Yeah. So
All those people will be dead by then.
yeah. So when I saw that, I go, well, that's not that big of a, because how many ships, how many cargo ships? I mean, the amount of cargo ships to Navy ships is astronomically more, right? So who's
My
throwing
jaw's
stuff
on
off
the
of where.
floor. As Mother Gaia, I deny any more of this, and you must take it home with you.
And I would imagine that, you know, to speak well to, you know, the Navy in a way would be, that's probably one of the entities that has somebody watching what they're doing and has protocols to try to do it a little bit better than the rest. All the rest of the ships might not have that same kind of
Oversight.
Yeah. So it's probably even worse. But anyway, that's what I thought. So I couldn't help but think about that when I'm watching this movie.
Thank
sorry,
you for
everybody.
that insight.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Katie, hit me with something. Physically, no, actually punch me. No, I'm kidding. What about this doc stood out to you? Besides being grossed out by the animals.
The animals
Sad.
is terrible. The fact that they were out there trying to pull in those nets, and there was another group that was a research study group from a university, and they just decided to pull up and take that net with them because it was a ton. It was 2,000 pounds.
I could not believe that.
It was outrageous, and they pulled up. So you just have to hope someone nearby can get that net out for you because it's going to kill thousands of animals.
Yep.
And it's not the only net out there. And then they showed
close.
the
That net was
5.
huge.
What's it called? The cycles? It's the currents. The 5 currents that go in the ocean. And then you watched it, and it would go to the north or the east shore of Hawaii, and it would just collect there.
Yep. That was these atolls that they talked about it being like a fine-tooth comb. So all the oceans are spinning, and thinking of it like what you said, thinking of it like a toilet flushing or like a whirlpool or whatever. And they all go through this quote unquote filter, which is the islands where these albatross, you know, what was it, like 70% of the world's albatross, which are a big
highest 70% of them. What is it?
And they all get collected there, which in some regards is like, well, you could see that as well. If you were able to put some sort of an effort there, that's a natural catch for these things, and we can start doing cleanup there. But the amount of damage it already does to the environment and to the reefs was crazy. How quick those are going down. But that's wild.
Yeah, that
it
net,
is.
Absolutely.
That net was nuts too, because they were like, well, we can't pull it on the boat because it'll sink the boat because it's so heavy. And I was like, what? How do you?
And then you watch them pull it in, and you're like, holy mother of God, they weren't kidding.
Yeah.
It was so large. And they got it in the boat, and it took them like an hour.
And they still didn't get it all there to tie it in front.
Yeah.
Just to get the rest of it. And a shout out to all the ladies, because it was all ladies that was doing that.
Yep.
And she's like,
So shout
where are
out
the
to the
men in this
ladies.
situation?
You gotta wonder where the guys are, because these ladies are working their asses off.
Yep.
The guys are the scientists. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I knew I was going to get something from that
You're
one.
not good.
As soon as he said it, he was already smiling.
James has been struck by lightning.
I was only kidding. You
By
guys.
Mother Gaia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Down he goes.
You're not in good company here for that kind of talk there, Mr. James.
Yeah, we done with that one.
Molly, what was your standout or one of your standouts for this?
Give me a second to think because I ran out. 1 second.
Yep.
Oh, the garbage man. The guy.
Yeah,
What
the
was his
bag
name?
monster.
The bag monster.
Yep.
I
Oh,
like
yeah.
that guy. Did you look confused?
I covered my eyes through a lot of it.
Right. The bag monster was a guy who covered himself in plastic bags and
That's
went to
right.
the convention
That's
or whatever.
right.
And
And
he
he
got
got
like on
sued
stage
by
and he
those
got
giant
sued.
companies.
The
Yep.
fact that he got sued. I was happy that at the end they give a recap that the main company dropped the lawsuit
Yep,
and then
yep,
the
I
other
like
one
that too.
settled. I was like, thank God, because that poor guy
Hopefully
was just
they
trying to do his
settled
due
for less than
diligence.
$1,000 because he doesn't
Something.
have money.
No.
Right. If he's dressing
No.
up like the plastic bag man, like I don't
Right.
think
No judge would look at that and be like,
Right.
he is a threat to you.
right.
He's homeless on the street trying to teach people.
right.
I don't know if he was homeless,
He wasn't
but
homeless.
Oh.
he was he was just trying to
He
say,
sure looked homeless.
He was
don't
spending
feed the bag monster.
his extra time, effort, like
Right.
any
He did
money
kinda
and
look
stuff
homeless,
like
but-
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Like
You
yeah.
need-
So I liked him. He was cool.
Yep.
Yes.
Trying to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, however
It was
much it
making a
did.
statement.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
was.
that's sometimes what it takes.
Was that here? That was here in the United States that he was getting sued.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was California.
Okay, yeah. So California is kind of surprised me they did that.
Mhm.
Because California themselves just started bans. In the United States, they got there's only 8 states that actually ban one-use plastics.
Uh-huh.
And that's Vermont, Hawaii, Maine, New York, Delaware, and California
Yep.
and Oregon.
Yep.
Those are the ones that ban plastics.
Like single use.
Yep.
Like single-use plastic, yeah. And then a shout out to Rwanda,
Oh.
because they have a zero tolerance for it. They actually, if you get caught using...
Where you said?
Rwanda.
Oh,
Africa.
okay. Yeah.
Rwanda and Kenya, India, and about 127 other countries all are involved in cleaning up their ag. But
Good for them.
Yeah.
Rwanda's it's a hint that they're going to be like the first nation to be plastic free
Wow.
by 2022 is what they said. I haven't really looked
Get the
back.
update since.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I haven't looked at that lately.
That's amazing.
But it just shows how serious people can actually get. If you put your mind to it,
Right.
you can do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can't even take stuff in there. If you get caught with plastics in,
Is it just like single use plastic?
only single-use
Okay,
plastics
yeah.
right now.
Because when immediately after I watched this, I went to work the next day and I was looking around and I'm going, 100% of the things I'm looking at have some sort of plastic
Right.
in them.
Right.
In order to like go away, how do you turn that faucet off? I don't know the answer to that. Like we have it so ingrained in our
Right.
culture and in our society right now. If we look around this room right now, every piece of equipment we're using to record this podcast and broadcast it
Right.
is made out of plastic.
Yeah, you can think
From
that-
our phones to, I mean, obviously with the exception of, some parts of it, but there is plastic in all of this.
Yeah.
exactly.
So even in like our wood, the laminate that's over the top has a plastic in it,
Resin
like,
polymer. Yep.
yeah. And even in the adhesives and things like it's all got plastic in it.
Yep.
So I don't know the answer. Of course, I'm not a
I mean,
scientist.
it's so deeply
but-
ingrained in it that we have to use it now.
Right.
But
We should just follow Rwanda's lead on plastic bags and
Yeah,
stuff.
single use.
Just to
you
at
get
least
caught down here with
eliminate that
plastic,
part
you
of
got
it.
4 years in
Starbucks?
jail or fine, or you can get fined $38,000.
That's
Oh my
crazy.
God.
if you get caught down there.
Just
They're serious.
Yep,
the
they
thing
don't
is
play.
about American consumption too, and like there's not really talk about environmentalism without the talk of consumerism. Is that things that are single use are accessible and cheap for a lot of the country that cannot afford
Low
to
income
be
and
more environmentally friendly. Like
Disability friendly.
yeah, so we can buy, metal straws, reusable Ziploc bags, and whatever because of a certain tax bracket that we fall into. But a majority
Still need.
of the average, like, American citizen is either not able to afford those luxuries or they do not have access to get those.
So it has to be a
Plastic.
systematic.
or
Right.
paper.
Yeah,
Change.
and the same thing goes with like food and everything like that. Like nice quality produce at the grocery store
expensive.
versus like
Yep.
plastic
Right.
cups and stuff from fast food places. And then it's about that convenience of get it out, get it out, get it out. So then even just eating, even just drinking water, like those things, like if you don't have access to clean water, you're contributing to not like ruining the environment because you're buying plastic water. There's no winning under capitalism.
Under current
Under
systems.
There
consumerism.
is no ethical consumption
There's
under.
not. And
capitalism.
it's unfortunate
Right.
that we've created a society where consumerism is so heavily intertwined into environmentalism, and one can't be talked about without the other, because truly being like 100% environmentally friendly would be 100% off the grid. Like you just can't do it in today's society.
And there's only a small
A
number
very
of
small
people
people who
that
can do
would
that.
be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Like if you want to switch from disposable Tupperware to mason jars,
Exactly.
you're gonna have to go to one of those fancy grocery stores where you get it out of a bin.
Yep.
And that's so much more expensive than picking up a box of Pop-Tarts at Walmart.
And they don't even have like those cooperative stores where you can do refillables in our state. I think the closest one is in Kansas City, and that's not approachable for a lot of people. Like I can't go down there once a month to go get new laundry detergent. Like it's just not something that I can do. So it just
Yeah.
we
Probably
live in a
buy the
world.
detergents in the box.
Right.
Right.
And
There's a there's a lot of ways that we can help out the environment. By one thing is stop buying water bottles. Boycott the micro beads plastic people. whoever makes them, we can boycott them. Start cooking your food more. Instead of going out purchasing plastic things for all that. Start using secondhand items instead of doing all that stuff. And then buy your stuff in bulk, and that also help out too.
Yeah, unfortunately, at the time this documentary was made, and I don't know now, but there wasn't really a good proposal put forward in the documentary. This was definitely an informative one.
Mm-hmm.
But besides what they called turning off the faucet of plastic manufacturing, there was no solution.
No call to action.
No,
Really.
Recycling being somewhat of a myth, just to make people feel better.
Right.
They kind of motivated me that I shouldn't care about recycling. They were
little bit,
you're not doing anything anyway. And I was like,
wanted
shit.
to just end my recycling bin that's always overflowing because why do it? It's not helping.
Right.
That's what Kyle, he's another guy that used to work with us. And I was like, man, we got to save this. Man, we got to save the earth. Just keep that plastic. And he turns and yells at me.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They only use 2% of it. I said, oh, they do? You explain the whole thing. I said, oh, okay. Well, then
I watched them. Kyle told me, I watched them come and put the recycling bin in the same thing that they put the trash in.
No.
Well, what's up, Kyle? If you're listening, by the way, shout out to
him.
we got to have him on an episode sometime with James so that they can just argue the entire time.
Can I come? Because that sounds entertaining. I don't want to be on the podcast. I'll just sit on the couch and watch. Katie can be on it because then she'll also fight.
Be like, what's up, Kyle? Baby.
And he's a cool cat. I think if we start something. So, because you ain't gonna never get rid of all these men. That's too much money.
Had you guys heard about, and this isn't on the documentary, but it's on topic. Have you guys heard about like the idea to create like nano robots that like eat plastic and do something with it?
No, but can you give me?
I don't know much about it. I just
cool.
It was difficult to discern how they were going to make it focus on plastic and not eat the other things around it.
Stop it, cat.
I've got a kitty cat that's playing with my microphone, and I'm okay with it.
DJ's like, God damn it.
Fuck. I'm it now.
I mean, I don't understand. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know, what that looks like. But for a robot to, eat plastic, it's got to have, it's got to do something with it. So how do you break it down unless science has come to a way that it can break down the molecules of plastic into something else, which I don't know if that exists.
That would be the only thing I would think, to be able to pull out that.
A bunch of
be so small
for paper products.
Yeah,
just like
is nano smaller than micro?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for it to actually just pick out that molecule.
But do what with it? I mean, that's where none of us here are scientists.
I hope they can break it back down
something.
Yeah,
into the raw forms again.
Sure, or maybe they're able to convert it to like a sustainable form, like some kind of dirt.
That would be great.
I don't know.
I know they're thinking about nanorobots for cancer.
That's a good thing too.
In what way?
Like they would put the nanorobots in their blood into the specific cancer area.
Oh, what?
Nanorobots would eat.
How nano is nanorobots?
It's like
very
cell size.
Nano.
How do you make that?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Very
I
carefully.
love science, but Jesus Christ, very carefully. The tiniest tweezers in the world.
I think to bring us back to the documentary, I think, when we talk about the efforts to rectify the problem or at least make a dent, they showed like Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of trying to give some when he was the governor, trying to trying to raise some awareness and create some laws. But the craziness was how instant it was for the lobbyists to turn that against him and start putting up these like what do they call them, the ads that like bashing them
ones,
where that like these politicians are focused on stupid things like plastic.
The environment.
Why are you worried about plastic bags when you should be worried about the economy and the blah 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 blah, and just making it look stupid. And so the average television viewer that's watching that, who maybe isn't doing their research or getting that fed to them, is just seeing, why is Arnold focused on plastic bags? That doesn't matter. We need to tackle homelessness.
Smear campaign.
Smear, yeah. Thank you very much. And and I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
I mean, but it's true. It's pretty terrible, but it's true. That's what happens.
Because the average person watching that also cares more about the money part of it, because that's what affects them right then, right there in the moment.
And just like you said, because it's not accessible for everyone.
It's not.
Yep.
And
You know, it sounds like maybe we've started to get to the end of some of our standout moments, but one thing that I wanted to touch on was when the doctor who did all that research on BPA and the effects on the environments and the plastic company's responsibility for things, he published something in like a peer review. The companies had a meeting with him then that said, how can we come to an agreement where you don't publish those findings without first getting them approved by us? That's scary shit. When you hear big, plastic, big oil essentially is who they're dealing with. They're bringing this guy in and they're going, we're going to start diplomatically and we're going to talk to you and say, how do we come to some kind of agreement, essentially rubbing their fingers together? Like, how much can we pay you to have you not publish that publicly, your findings on how bad plastic is, without first getting that clearance from us to say? And he's like, he never even said like if he published it or not, if he took a payout, if he did anything. But that's scary shit, because that's the kind of stuff that, that's the level, if I'm talking conspiracy theory, that's the level where people can disappear.
Right. That's that
Exactly.
mafia stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
And like
he
the
got
fact
in a
that
tragic
money,
car accident.
Yeah, and money can buy like being able to spread information.
False truths.
Because
Yep.
like a lot of people will take that money, especially because they have so much money in big oil
Yeah.
that like
They
they
do.
can afford to pay people out, and they will. People will make that
Pay
decision
for your silence.
for
Yep.
their families. They will make that decision that they need to do this for their
And the
personal
fear
reasons,
of
which
if-
is totally understandable.
If I hold out and can't be bought, what happens to me and my family?
Right.
Because they do have the type of power
Big
to
oil
potentially
mafia.
do that. I mean, seriously.
Literally.
Right.
Those are
They
the
do it in
companies.
political campaigns all the time.
Yep. Yep. I mean, if you don't follow what we're going to do, we're going to pull our funding, or worse. Man, that's a scary,
That is.
scary thing.
That's the history of the Koch brothers.
Coke?
Who?
Oh, like Coca-Cola?
KOCH.
Oh.
It's a long story, but if anybody got that joke, please comment on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll look it up later and text you and be like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yes,
I get it. Ha,
yes,
ha, ha.
please, because they're real bad.
Oh, okay.
They're
For sure.
real bad.
I believe you.
Anything else, James, in your handy dandy notebook?
I said pretty much there's a whole bunch of things in here, fossil fuels, all kind of steps that affects chlorinated plastic. That's the main chemical that bleeds out of plastic, is the chlorinated effects of it. Groundwater and taking over the ecosystem and destroying that. And what we're going to end up doing is you ever think about, I seen this science fiction TV show where the guy said, we are killing ourselves on Earth. We are like a frog dropped in cold water in the heat in a pot in cold water, and it slowly turns up. And the frog does not realize that it's been cooked alive. And that's what's happening to us.
It's happening
It's
to
I mean, this is not just America. This is the worldwide catastrophe.
It's global. Yeah.
It's global.
Yep.
And it has to be a global effort in order to at least let's put a dent in it,
Yeah.
One
Start
person
the
is not going
process.
to. I
Yeah.
mean, you go to a beach and you just rub your hand alone, you got more plastic on the beach than you got sand.
That's
Come
a
on
problem.
now. That is a
That
big
is a
problem.
big problem. Yep.
Big problem. And that turtle. Now that what broke me down a
The
little
turtle
bit.
with the band
with
around
the band
it.
around it,
Oh,
its shell was
horrible.
deformed.
Nope, my eyes were
I'm like,
closed.
wow.
Yep.
You would have hated it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was really
I've
sad.
already seen many photos of those.
So, how did we feel after this ended?
Better.
Better?
Better that I was not looking at it anymore.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
better about the state of the world?
Yeah.
'Cause-
No, I felt better. It was over.
Yeah.
I feel better because of the awareness it brought out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The message got out, even if it was not the best of them, but it got out. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Molly?
I'm not gonna lie, I felt significantly worse. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm kind of with you on that.
I just like, even taking one part of it, I feel worse about, because like I can't escape it.
Right.
I will always be contributing to it, and there's nothing I can do about it in my lifetime to make a difference, truly make a difference.
Right.
So I felt a little bit, you know, in the heaps of despair,
Defeated.
because I was like, wow, this is literally pointless. And like even debunking basically recycling, I was like, the one thing that we can actively contribute to and feel like, because obviously you can have a compost bin like your mom had, we can have, we can recycle, like we can reuse things and try to limit our own waste, but like it's just, it's not
It's
enough
a small
and it never
drop
will be
in an ocean.
yeah,
And
in
you're
an
making
endless
impact.
bucket. Like it's it was singular tissue wiping up the faucet that never runs out.
Never turns off. Yeah.
So it's just, I felt sad, and it made me like just sit in a hole for a while and be like, wow, I hate consumerism and everything.
There is definitely a defeated feel after, which is why I kind of shy away from environmental documentaries sometimes, because I feel like that's more often than not the feeling I walk away from. Because if there was a like set in stone, this is what you can do to really make a difference,
right?
You know, and it wasn't me having to uproot my life and go, you know, to the jungles somewhere and put my, you know, my actual physical effort into
be completely self-sustained,
right?
And like,
But as of right now, there's really nothing there. So it was a kind of defeating feeling, especially when you start looking around and seeing the impact that the plastic industry has had on culture. But, you know, if we are going to do a little part, you know, I can feel, you know, at least I do kind of feel a little bit of, I don't know, maybe it's just false feeling better, but when I skip the lid, you know, that sort of thing. It's like, I know that it doesn't really make a huge difference, but if I can do that, at least I know I'm not contributing as much as the next guy.
Right.
Did anybody think about what was happening to the environment and how much waste we were contributing during COVID? Because that was such an uptick, and you could not argue with anybody about using extra wipes or extra paper towels or anything. It was just
fucking masks.
Nobody,
the hand sanitizer, masks, like everything.
The amount
you
of
could not
masks.
even consider not doing it, because I understand we were trying to save lives, but the amount that we were going through was not considered for a second.
Nope.
And so I am terrified that there are mounds now that maybe were not quite so bad that are now 10 times the size just because of COVID.
Right.
Also, like the straps on all masks, when those get into the ocean and we start seeing documentaries about fish with the mask strings stuck around them and stuff, is going to be literally devastating. Devastating.
Yep.
If I cut up all my, I used to floss.
Yeah.
I cut my
Good for you.
floss. I've been doing
That's
that
cute.
for like 20 years since I first heard of it. You know, that's one way I started doing, cutting the floss up, you know.
I think in elementary school, Jeff, they told us to cut up the pop ones.
Oh, yeah.
I still do that.
I still do that
too.
I
But-
try not to
That
buy
juice?
those, but
Yeah.
I do
when
that.
a 6-pack of pop comes and you got that plastic.
Oh, yeah, cut it.
Yeah.
Cut that.
Yeah, they show the
thing.
pictures of the turtle stuck in that. I'm like,
Stop it.
nope,
Stop it.
nope, we can't do it.
If we could take a take out of this, think about India and how they stopped their one-use plastic. They have at this time there was 1.35 billion people.
Yeah.
All those people stopped.
Right.
Not all of them, but you know,
They
But
did their
like-
job.
large percentage.
Well, this
and that's
is-
a dent.
Yeah, and this is where, you know, you get into kind of a cyclical discussion about, this is where you need a government to
Step
do the
in.
right thing and to make mandates and bills and laws that support that. But that goes right back around to the fact that who's paying their politicians?
Right, who's
Well, the
paying
people paying our politicians to do what they're doing is the same people that are making money off the plastic. So they weren't going to support that. So the guy who could potentially, guy or girl, I'm sorry, the person who could potentially be writing these bills and these laws and things, you know, they're not going to make it high up into the political chain because those people aren't getting the same funding and the same backing and the same marketing that the other people are getting because of where that money's coming from.
And then we're
Exactly.
right back where we started.
Exactly.
And it's just,
Was the documentary well made? Thoughts?
I think it was very simple. I don't think it needed to be much more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it followed like a nice, like cohesive narrative. Like it was, it was very informative, and like they did explain a lot of the little things that they went through. So.
Yeah, they did get that point across.
Yeah,
that was the main point of that.
It was short and sweet, and like to the point in a good, beneficial way, where it wasn't painfully dragged out with like
no gratuitous scenes of animals that didn't need to be there. Although I thought it was gratuitous, I don't think they
the average person. They definitely could have done way worse.
I think that some of that does play an important part in showing
100%.
the you know, some of the things. If you never, it's kind of like
you don't see it, you don't know it.
Just like the garbage patch, you know, when they talk about, people are like, well, I've maybe heard of it, but I've never seen it. Well, it's because you can't see it. A 40-year-old
guy in his underwear,
right? Yeah, you know, for me, this documentary was. It wasn't poorly made, but this really felt like something that the substitute teacher would roll in on one of those carts and play for the class.
Yeah.
It was very simply spoken, simply narrated. There wasn't a lot of cinematics to it, which I appreciated in some ways, but compared to some of the more cinematic ones that they make now, or that they made in 2013 when this was made, was left a little bit lacking. You could tell it wasn't like a high production value documentary. So
for what they had, I think it was made well, simple. It was good. But yes, I also felt it was
a middle school.
In comparison with others that we've watched, with the production value and the money has been higher. Like, you know, it was lacking in that respect, as one would expect.
It was. I got more
the Rolly TV.
I got more information out of my notes. Than
when
from
you
the
were researching.
Yep.
Fair enough.
But it made you start researching.
Right.
So they did a good job with getting that point across.
Yep.
They did.
What was, if let's start with James. If you had to kind of nutshell, what's the message that was trying to be sent here? Do you feel like there was a message, or was it just awareness?
I feel like it was more of awareness. That's what I feel like. It was more of awareness. Be aware of this, because like you guys were saying, it's really not a lot that you can actually do until someone actually says, okay. You know, you can do all the lobbying and everything else, but the main thing is it's a good warning. With the animals, how they showed them, you know, it bring it home. You know, you seen them hurt. With the birds, you seen all that stuff. I mean, pulling out freaking, what's that, marker caps?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Come on now.
Right. Yep.
You know,
and, you know, to speak on that, they talked about how that island, that group of, that atoll, that those birds in particular served as the thermostat for the whole Pacific region.
Yes.
You could look at what's happening with those birds and that area, and you could tell the temperature, and right now it's not good.
Right.
And you know, I liked the statement where he said the Midway Atoll is the canary in the mine shaft. It is for the whole world, and it's tweeting. It's telling you there's a problem.
Right.
It's time to do something about it.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people are not listening.
And it's so crazy that our wildlife can tell us so much about the state of the world. And one day that might be gone. Like we might not have that ability anymore way too soon for comfort.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe not our lifetimes, but
we're still not listening. We're still not listening, like the trees, the bags and stuff, cutting down trees. That's our oxygen.
Yep.
Yeah.
We still doing it. It's that money thing. It's that greed.
Yeah, absolutely. And the difference for me between the usage of wood and trees for those kind of things, I feel like at least with that, there's sort of some action where you can, with paper, it being biodegradable, it being more recyclable, and trees being able to be replanted to create more. Yeah, that's a big effort. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the cutting down of forests and things like that, deforestation and all that stuff. You know, but at least there's something that can be done. This one feels so daunting because of how permanent plastic is and how there's really nothing that we can do. I mean, if there was if they said, you know, if you have this certain thing this magic treatment, and you put all of your plastic into it, then you're going to give back to the environment and help stop this problem. And that was real. Then we have an action item.
Right.
But we don't have that for plastic. So that to me was very daunting.
They did say that those big storms that washed over those other islands and stuff, that soon will be coming to the island itself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The tsunamis in 2011.
Yeah, it's going to reach them. I'm like,
yeah,
wow.
and then they said in 2012 the waves had reached the island.
Yep.
And the fact that it came almost a year later was just astounding.
Yeah. Yep. I was in Japan when that tsunami hit.
You
Really?
were not.
Get out of here.
I felt the earthquakes and everything. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
Yep. Anyway, so I guess to wrap it up before we get into ratings, did anybody feel led to change any behaviors or anything that stuck with them? Anything like that, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we buy the Rubbermaid or the Tupperware that is clear and that you can throw away if it becomes ruined. It's plastic. It's got a number 2 on the bottom. I would love to switch to glass or to mason jars to take things with me, but I know that glass is often not microwavable, and so it's a toss up. But I definitely want to look around my house and change. Like, I use these cotton rounds to wash my face. I know that they make reusable ones.
Reusable ones are awesome.
Yep.
I use them.
So
They're
I
awesome.
would love to switch to that, and I just throw them in the wash and do that again.
Yep.
I would
They come with
use
a little mesh bag and everything.
Nice.
I would use my containers. Like, you know how you get containers with the plastic lid?
Yep.
I'll store food in them. That leftover food can also go in those containers.
Yeah,
that
like
you
your
got.
butter container can
Right.
totally be used for something after you're done.
So we as kids, you know, we had a lot of money, so those butter containers became bowls.
Started with necessity and
cereal
then,
to make it happen, you know. And we were
Cereal
saving
out of a
environment.
butter bowl is really
Cereal
funny.
in a butter bowl, baby. That's how we roll.
Yep.
You know,
You know, I definitely started to pay more attention. Similar, like when we watched Fed Up, you know, I pay attention to what I was eating. Honestly, it's kind of faded a little bit already since I watched it, just like it did before. So, Molly, how about you?
No, it did not make me feel, honestly, like I wanted to change anything. I try to already kind of be conscious of that, but it just, I don't know. It kind of, like, I'm not going to change any of my habits to be worse by any means, but I already do use, like, glass containers. I do a lot of thrifting secondhand, like, using... maybe I'll take James's advice and start using my butter containers for cereal and stuff. That's a great idea, honestly.
Yep.
I enjoyed the documentary. I liked the awareness of it, but for me, since there's no real concrete call to action, like it sucks because, like, with, like, trees, like, you can feel like, yeah, I can plant a tree on Arbor Day, whatever. But with, like, the vast expansion of the ocean, I'm like, even if we all put a concerted effort to stop putting things out, like, collecting it back is virtually impossible.
Yeah, and then what are we going to do with it?
No, exactly. And then what do we do with it? Like, so.
It's just too bad we can't melt all that plastic down, all of it down, and make it reusable.
Yeah, let's melt it down, turn it into pucks like the Navy does,
like
and then build affordable housing for the homeless out of it.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Molly for president. Thanks, guys.
There you go.
You got
Good
my
golly.
vote.
Oh my God, that's my tagline. Good golly.
Miss
Molly for president.
All right, so finally, we've come to the time where we need to rate this documentary with an official documentary rating, where each crew member scores the documentary on a scale of 1 to 10 items, with 1 being as bad as a gut full of microplastics and 10 being as good as a BPA-free fish sandwich. Yummy. The item that we use for scoring changes each week depending on the content of our documentary. The item that we used for this week is bag monsters. So our rating item is bag monsters. James, let's start with you, my friend. How many bag monsters did you give Plastic Paradise?
8 bag monsters.
8 bag monsters. Why was this only 2 away from the best thing that you've ever seen?
Because it gave informative information about...
Informative information.
Yeah, informative information about...
Informative information.
The environments and the effects that human beings are causing the earth.
Yep. So you like the awareness.
Yeah, I do. I love it.
Fair enough. Lady Katie, how about you?
Mother Gaia gives this 5 bag monsters.
5 bag monsters. Okay. So halfway. You think that this is right halfway between best and worst?
Absolutely. It was informative. I didn't like it, but it still deserves some rating.
Fair enough. How about you, good golly?
I also gave it 5 bag monsters, and I'm on the same page with Katie. With it was informative. I think it was well made with the money and the produce.
Sure.
Like there's one girl. Like
Yeah, pretty much.
One lady, one woman show. But it wasn't my personal favorite. For the reasons that we already talked about. So.
Yep. I also gave 5 bag monsters for Plastic Paradise, and my reasons are just the same. It wasn't bad. It wasn't wonderful. It was very informative, but there was nothing. It left me feeling a little bit defeated. So not bad, not great, with the exception of James thinking that this was fucking awesome. So anyway, the official documentary rating for Plastic Paradise is 5.75 bag monsters. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I want you all to know that if I saw you tangled up in a nylon net, I'd do my best to cut you free.
That's so cute.
So there you go.
If I saw a plastic straw in your nose, I would pull it out for you.
Right up in my sinuses.
Stop it.
Sorry.
So next week, you guys ready for next week's episode?
Yeah.
Are we?
Next week, it's
You just keep doing it. Yeah.
Okay, now you got
Other guys down with that.
Next week, we will be discussing a documentary that touches on something very near and dear to my heart. Do you guys hear that?
Drum roll, please.
Drums.
Drums.
Drums, drumming, and rhythm
Oh.
Because I ain't got
have served as the backbeat to our world for centuries. So we join a cast of drummers to tap into some of their joy and exhilaration that drives their passion for drums in a documentary called Count Me In.
Oh.
Yeah.
Before you watch, you should listen to Meghan Trainor's song, I Got a Thing for Drummers.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's funny. Watch
Anyone,
Miles Teller's movie about drumming too. 'Cause
Whiplash?
it's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
Whiplash.
yeah.
That's what it's called.
have any of you guys seen or heard of Count Me In yet?
Only from you,
Okay.
from being here last week when you said this is the one we're doing in 2 weeks, and I said, "Oh, awesome."
Any predictions? You guys
There will
excited
be
for that one?
drumsticks,
There will be drums.
but not the food kind.
Oh man, I can't wait to see
I
this.
also think drummers are hot, so I'm excited.
You
Yeah.
got any drummer ladies?
There's plenty of them in the movie.
Drummer
Yeah.
ladies are even hotter than drummer guys.
I want to see the spins of the sticks on it.
You gotta watch this, man.
Flipping
Good with
the
their
stuff.
hands, you know.
Yep. So everyone, go out and check out the documentary "Count Me In." It can be streamed on Netflix. Join us as we keep the beat for the world, one documentary at a time. Go out, rate and review our podcast on your favorite podcast streaming services. Let us know what you think of our show. If you want to connect with our crew, if you think we're all full of shit and you want to tell us that you disagree, or if you want to tell us how much you like us and are appreciating the content that we're putting out, look for us at Talkumentary Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or shoot us an email, info.talkumentary@gmail.com. On behalf of Captain Planet, King James, the Lady of the Earth, Lady Katy,
Mother Gaia loves you.
and Green Golly Miss Molly.
Oh, that was good.
I don't know. DJ in the booth and the entire Talkumentary family. I'm your host, Jeff, Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, and Heart.
Oh, I love it.
I love Earth, Wind, and Fire.
with our powers combined, I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you keep your minds open and be kind to each other. I'd say recycle your plastic, but it's not going to do anything. So, enjoy life, everybody. Goodbye.
Yep. Peace, love, and sustainability.
Be curious, not judgmental.
Oh, I like that. Bi curious and not judgmental.
Love
Is that-
Yep.
That's even better. That's even
Always.
And
Love is a spectrum.
Aren't we all?
be environmentally safe.
Safe.
Ooh, yes.
BPI free.
Conscious.
reuse your plastics.
Cereal
I
and a
get
butter
coffee
container.
anyway without lids anyway. So I'm
You don't
already
even wash your cups,
going up.
though.
Yeah, I don't.
He's
want
so
Not saving
environmentally
water.
friendly.
I love the
Deserves
dirt.
water.
I love the dirt that comes along with that coffee, the mud.
He's going back to
feels
his
your
roots.
blood.
He's
Black
really
mold?
connecting with the earth.
Yeah, I connect with the earth.
Yep.
Earth.
Okay.
All right. We're done.
Okay, I'll be
That's
done.
your mullet, King James.
Goodbye, strangers.
Goodbye.
That green mullet, Afro mullet.
It's just then. Well, Captain Planet has left the building.